We're gonna go ahead and get started. Those that are in line, please stay and get pizza and bring it back into the room. Just want to welcome everyone here to our Foster alumni get together to kick off FY24. It's been a long time since we've had these in person, so it's great to be back. For those I haven't met, my name is Brian Tomlinson. I'm a 12-year Microsoft vet, 2009 Foster alum, and a 25-year season ticket holder as well, Coach. So we brought this group together about a decade ago, and the whole goal is to provide professional development and career advancement opportunities for Foster alums here at Microsoft. When we started, we had a list of 100 names. Now we're at 1,300 alums, and that's just the ones that we know of. Thanks, guys. And that it makes us not only the largest alumni population here at Microsoft, but I think we're 3 times the second largest. So it's a set of power that I think we can use. If you guys enjoy this event today, I would say thank you so much to the Alumni Association who pays for all the food and coordinates this with us. And if you can, we just ask all the alums that are here to find ways to give back, whether that's judging a case competition, mentoring one of the students that are here today, participating in on-campus recruiting, and of course, remembering Foster when it comes time to the Give campaign in October. Real quick, let me get some introductions. So we have 2 coaches today. Frank Hodge, or Coach as he's called on campus. He took over as dean in 2019. If you were on campus like many of us in the Balmer High days, you won't recognize it when you go back between Founders Hall and Pat Carr Hall and others. I think we have some of the finest facilities in the country now. Both a top 20 undergraduate and graduate ranked program. Well on our way to the goal, which I think we still have carried over from Dean Giambalvo to be the #1 public business school in the country, right? Okay, let's welcome the Dean, Coach Frank Hodge. And our second coach, Coach Kalen DeBoer, he took over the reins of the Washington football program after amassing an 89-11 record as a head coach. In the first year, he coached the team to an 11-2 record, including a win over Texas and the Alamo Bowl. And I'll say the most fun I've ever had watching my television was the win over that team that we won't mention in the other state below, 37-34. But boy, that was fun. Coach, I'll say this, any true Husky fan here, I think we support all of the athletic programs on campus, win or lose. But it's a lot more fun when we win 11 games. Let's say that. Last year was an absolute blast. Please join me in welcoming the head coach of your University of Washington football team, Coach Kalen DeBoer. I'm going to turn things over to Dean Hodge, and we're going to have a little bit of Q&A between them. We'll save some time at the end for questions both online and in person. We're going to end promptly at 12:55 so you can get to your 1 o'clocks. Many of you decided to stay on and provide career roundtables for those that are going to meet with our student athletes that are here. Please stay so, and we'll move up to the front at 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome everyone. It's great to see you all here. Thank you for joining us, Coach DeBoer. I want to start with a question about culture. In business, we often see culture eats strategy for breakfast. I want to talk about the culture that you built and are building at the University of Washington. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bet. First of all, it's great to be here. Appreciate all the alumni that are out here helping our student athletes. I know we got some tables over here that are a little in question. I see some football guys over there. And then I know it's great to see the other student athletes from the other sports here as well. But we appreciate today. Culture, what'd you say? Eat strategy?
Eat strategy for breakfast.
Yeah, I totally agree when it comes to culture. I think it's, I mean, you have to be good with your X's and O's or whatever it is with the sport that you're in. Football, we call it X's and O's, but the techniques and all that, you have to have great teachers and experts in that area. But when it really comes down to it, the greatest teams usually have the best culture. And if you really want to sustain success, you definitely have to have great culture. And so we pour into that. My guys would, that are here would, I think, vouch for that. That's as important of a thing as any. I think it's helped us with our continuity, whether it's from even before I got here to last year, or especially from last year to this year. It's just providing an experience, that, is special for them. Something where they see it's worth the effort that they're putting in. You always want to see that you're getting some of it out of it. Doesn't mean that it's success in the field. It might be the relationships. It might be the networking, such as what might be happening here. And so the culture, I've said it before. I remember at a previous job that I had before here, I said on the air, on the radio, culture beats strategy. And that got the same thing you just said. It got picked apart. And, I didn't even really think twice about it because in the end, I really believe that. So it's important to have great culture.
Well, if it gets picked apart again, let me know, because it's in a lot of textbooks. I want to talk about, because in order to maintain and nurture a culture, you have to have the right team. And Jim Collins in Good to Great talks about having the right people on the bus, but also having them in the right seat on the bus. Can you talk about developing the coaching staff that you have, and then how you engage them on a regular basis to help feed that culture?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's all about leadership, right? And the leadership that I ask out of the upperclassmen or the guys that are critical pieces and have been around and understand what we're trying to do here at UW. I mean, that's one part of it. But even above that, then I got to have a group, and that's our staff. And our staff, it's a unique staff, because I think if you go through, and I'll try and make this brief, but I was a head coach for 5 years. I was an offensive coordinator for 5 years at a small school, a head coach for 5 years. And then for 10 years, I was at 4 different places as an assistant, again, as an offensive coordinator. And I think what's unique is I got a chance to run a program, and then I got a chance to go see it done at 4 other places. And the about 95% of what we do today is what I felt back then. But that other 5 or maybe even 10% of the things that have been added have made our program better because of the things I've learned along the way. And then what really I'm kind of getting to here is our coaching staff is made up of a lot of the best coaches, best people, the most genuine, the hardest working. Those guys, or those people that I met over those 10 years as assistant coach. I think, and I tell this to recruits all the time when I'm selling our staff, when you're an assistant coach, and I have great relationships with our coaches because I was an assistant with them. But I also understand that when a coaching staff goes in a room together, the offensive staff, the defensive staff, the special teams, there's different conversations that are happening when I'm there versus when I'm not there, right? And they are working relentlessly, and they are going hard, but there's different conversations, and you see people let their guard down, right, when the whatever boss is not in the room. And I was with them as an assistant coach, many of these coaches, I think 8 of the 10, and then there's some off the field staff as well. And so I know who these people are. I know they're the ones that truly care when they say they care. They're the ones that are working the extra hours, driving the extra miles to go see recruits when other coaches around the country are not, and that's what gives us our edge. And so we got a staff that cares about our guys. They believe in the same philosophy I have, and that's to make our guys experience one of the greatest times of their life. And we have a lot of different personalities. Jamarcus Shepard gets a lot of attention because he's kind of loud and energetic and all that as our receivers coach. That's certainly different than other coaches on our staff. And the cool thing is, I think whenever you're part of any organization, you want to tap into the strengths of every person. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. That's what we try to do as a football team. That's also what we try to do as a staff.
I want to explore. You said you were a head coach in 3 different places. The University of Washington is a lot like Microsoft, one of the biggest universities in the United States, power conference. You were at Fresno State, which is a little bit lower than that. And then you were at Sioux Falls. And by the way, record at Sioux Falls, 67-3, 3 national championships. Incredible record. But that's leadership across 3 very different programs. Can you talk a little bit about what it takes to be a leader across different programs?
Yeah, I think the difference between the programs, the similarity is, in my mind, that there's a emphasis on football is important, and it's well supported. People love coming to games. There's a good amount of support in a lot of different ways. I think what you see is the difference in those 3 places in particular that I've been. The different levels comes with different levels of resources. And so, I wore a lot of hats. There were 4 of us that were full-time coaches, including myself, at the University of Sioux Falls, right? 4 full-time in every way. We were the recruiting department. We were the We were the what you now, I guess we didn't have creative back then, but the creative department, we were the GAs, we were the full-time staff. And then, outside of that, really, I mean, we had to use the school's admissions office. We had, it was all through the university, and then 4 of us full-time. You go to Fresno, and then, there's more reasons. Now you got a dietitian, you got a full-time strength coach or 2, and so I think what you see is just the resources growing. I'm proud of the way I've kind of gotten to this point, just because I've wore all those different hats. And I remember my first job, we built our lockers for our players. I mean, literally the first day I got hired as an offense coordinator at Sioux Falls, we were building plywood lockers, painting them gray and putting hinges on them. And I wanted to go watch some film or do something like that and watch the guys work out, but we were doing that. So, Ryan Grubb, our offensive coordinator, was one of my assistants. He was our equipment guy. And after we won a national championship and we got back to the campus, he was doing laundry, literally pulling the stuff off, and it had sat on a plane and it was frozen in South Dakota, and he was taking off frozen, wet, soggy, sweaty jerseys that he had to wash before he could go home because someone had to do it. So I think that's the biggest difference, is you see the resources that you have, and now I think it's just more details, like with the amount of detail we're able to pour into each of our players, because we have we have more full-time staff in a lot of different areas. So give these guys a greater experience.
I want to talk a little bit about preparing for game day. So everyone here knows that you get a project, you got a deadline, you got to work backwards and say, okay, what do I have to accomplish to be ready on that day at this time? That's exactly what you do every Saturday. Talk about that. How do you prepare your coaching staff and your team to get ready for that key period on Saturday?
Right.
We hope Saturday afternoon, but
Right.
it tends to be Saturday evening more often.
Yeah. Well, I mean, working back, like you said, right, there's that daily plan. So what does Friday look like? Thursday, there's that weekly plan. There's that in-season plan. There's that plan in the summer. There's different phases, the winter conditioning that happens. There's a recruiting plan. But from January on, we had a meeting January 3rd when school started, and that started this year's team. And each phase along the way, there's something else that we're really trying to incorporate and focus on. When it comes to, let's just focus on the weekly game plan, I think my job is to provide the organization. And I think anytime, that you can provide the organization, with that, we had a plan first, right? And then you put the organization, now you can let your people go to work. And our offensive staff knows exactly each day, from 2 to 5:30, that this is their time to work together, and the offense coordinator has that block, and how he splits that up, that's his decision, but every hour of the day they kind of know recruiting time, might be from, on Mondays, 8:30 to 10. Well, we know practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So everything's organized. And once you can do that, you can let your organizations and they just work and hire good people, good organized people that organize their areas. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, right? Because each phase of the game in football is responsible for putting their mini game plans together. And we just got to all be on the same page, and we try to knock out in efficient staff meetings Sunday, Monday. We do actually Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We knock out full staff meetings, and then the breakouts happen from there throughout the week.
And so I want to drill down just a little bit. So we just have a big win on a Saturday night. What does, from that evening on until the next game, what does it look like?
I mean, a lot of our coaches, Saturday night after a game in Husky Stadium, or if we're on a plane, they're literally grading the film. As soon as we walk off the field, meet in the locker room, celebrate for, a half hour, 45 minutes, see the families. A lot of times it's late. Our kids are going home and they're going to bed. A lot of the times the coaching staff, myself, we're actually watching the film, so the next morning we can be around our kids on a Sunday morning. I mean, that's literally what they're doing. And then we're back to it. We all get together. Every play, every rep for every guy is graded out. And so I think our job really revolves around feedback and communication. And so the communication is making sure, right, that we're all on the same page. the organization that we were talking about is all relayed and everyone knows what this week or what this day looks like. And then when we win, here's the feedback on why we won. Or if we lost, this is the feedback on what went wrong. And I think that's our job as coaches, to always give the feedback. So the grading happens, the overall offensive, we call it tell the truth Sundays. And so we get in the room and we just are honest with ourselves, much like the Good to Great book that you were talking about, the real hard truths. We do that with all the different phases and really, think through the relationships that we have with our team and our players, coaches as well. We can get critical without getting defensive. And those relationships are critical, are really important for us to be able to give the exact feedback, not, kind of give the fluff or, make it sound maybe not as bad as it really was, or really good or better than it was, but really give the feedback. So that way we can put the plan together for the next week going forward. But from Sunday night, and then our players get off Monday, and then Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, there's practices, and every hour of the day is pretty much planned for the coaching staff from about 5:45 in the morning till about 9:30 at night.
That's what you call a full-time job.
Yeah. They're enjoying a little bit of summer vacation right now because their life in our world is it's unfortunate in some ways, and I try to do a great job of helping our coaches have more to it, when it comes to families and things like that than most programs. But it's a pretty intense time from especially August through the end of December.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about that balance. So you talked about letting your coaches have some time off when time allows. On the student athlete side, so talk about the pursuit of excellence, so pushing someone to be the best they can be, but also caring about their mental and physical health. How do you balance those two?
Yeah, I think in the end there has to be an understanding that we care about the experience they're having, and first and foremost, that's what it's all about. I know that it always goes back to your own personal philosophy, and I coach because of my experience when I was these student athletes' age. My head coach, who just passed away actually in January, is my father figure, and there's other reasons I can go on and on about why he was so special in my life. But that experience I had shaped who I am today. That timeline, I think, is just those college years are so just important for your growth. You find out who you are. You're on your own, but you're still around other mentors, and whether it be professors and the faculty, or the coaching staff, or other staff members. And so I think our philosophies are what kind of dictate what we want that to look like for our student athletes during this time. And I think that's really what it starts with.
Last question before we open it up for Q&A. We'll have about 10 minutes of Q&A, so think about some good questions. A lot in the press recently about artificial intelligence and, for example, OpenAI's ChatGPT, generative AI. How do you use technology in what you do to bring a team to its peak performance for game day?
Yeah, there's the simple stuff, right? Just being on schedule, and calendars, right, that are digital and all that kind of good stuff, right? Making sure communication, we have our different ways of communicating through different services and apps and so forth. But I think the stuff that probably you just want to hear about, we have ways of putting a game plan together, or coming up with the breakdowns where we log some things and we can sort, but we also have some services that we use to where all the information's there, and we can find out what coverage the opponent plays in the last 3 games on third down and medium, and literally just hit a couple boxes, and there's not only just like the percentages, but we can also see the clips. And so you can see what else was in play. Was it the end of the first half, and that's why this coverage has been played? Maybe it's like 2 minutes or minute to go in the game, and that's you're behind, and so that's why that one might not matter and apply, because we're looking for tendencies, right? We're looking for tendencies of the opponent, and so there is so many things that we do with the technology, and most of it, video for football is like just so critical. I mean, the way we break down things, the way we teach, it is video. Our video guy, he's gold to us, So Jake, I mean, he's up there right now, just getting ready for fall camp, and I mean, even the projectors and all that. Those are like some of the most important things. Because this is what the guys see, and this is how we provide the feedback, and this is how we do the breakdown. There's a lot of different elements to it when it comes to the technology that apply, but the game planning piece on Saturday, on Sunday, and Monday is really critical for us to be able to put things together and help show efficiently why we're doing this and what we're doing, and for the guys to learn, in 3 practices, maybe 50 new plays, or, a couple different coverages. We have to have all that kind of at the edge of our fingertips.
Yeah, what I love about that is it has to be at the edge of the fingertips, and you spend all week preparing, but then the play goes in and they have to execute, right? And the technology doesn't necessarily help with that.
That's why it never matters what we know, it's what they know. And that's what we always really talk about is it doesn't matter what the coaches know. It's getting, and sometimes it might be, man, we can do this, and this, but that's too much. And a lot of times our biggest job is simplifying things down and not doing so much to where we can execute efficiently and just play fast and play hard, and the guys not having to think by the time Saturday rolls around.
All right, we're going to open it up now. I'm going to give my mic to Brian so that you can use the mic for those that are online, and we'll have some open Q&A.
Questions in the room, and I think Molly, you're checking those online. I saw one hand here, and then I'll come over there.
Yeah, thanks, Coach, for the perspective. You've seen technology evolve over the course of your career. So now, with what you have today, my next question is, what do you wish you had? What's the thing that frustrates you, or that you wish you could get out of the technology that maybe you're not getting today, or that these guys could get out of the technology that they're not getting today?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I think the one thing that college football doesn't allow us to do yet is have the stuff on the sidelines or in the box. We cannot have computers, so you use it all week long, and you see different levels of football. Even high school, they're able to have some iPads or some type of something on the side there where they can kind of quickly show some type of screen what they're seeing, and be able to teach off of that. And we aren't able to do that yet just because of the rules. So that would make it a lot easier when you come on the sideline and Michael Penix is right there, and hey, here's a screenshot of what it looked like pre-snap, or here's video show the offensive line or defensive line what's happening up front, because you can't always see in those confined areas from the sideline exactly what's happening. And that feedback for us as coaches, yes, we do a good job at communicating with the players when they come off, but that instant feedback would be helpful. Our guys in the box, up in the press box, a lot of times there's TVs, and sometimes the replay, which is usually about 8 to 10 seconds after the play happens. I mean, they can look up on a replay and be able to see maybe something that's being shown, but that's really all on the TV broadcast, and just by chance happen to take a look on, okay, that safety got here and that corner came here, that, that's why that play worked or didn't work.
Okay, one more question here, and I think there was one in the back after that.
So I guess the inverse of what you were talking about in opponent study, what do you do to help avoid being predictable, or examine your own predictability going forward through the season, so others can't do the same as what you're trying to do?
Yeah, we do what we call self-scout. And so every week, at the end of the week, and a lot of it just starts with percentages on what plays we're running, what coverages we're running, what down, and a lot of times it's down a distance, and we break everything down, right? First down, first down and 10, and then second down and long, medium, short, third down, long, medium, short, fourth down, different times of the game, so everything's broke down in tendencies. Now, I will say this, there has come a point in time in my career where it's like, I don't care if we have tendencies, because those are the things we're good at in those moments. If you're really strong in an area, I mean, if you're really good last year, I mean, let's just talk, the passing game has been known because of Penix and everything there. Well, if we're really good at it, yeah, the numbers are going to show that. So it's hard to hide it when it's really who you are. It's our DNA, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, maybe what those specific schemes are on certain downs. You know, I know from a defensive side, we're constantly looking like, hey, these are the two or three main concepts they're going to run, you know, out of this formation, and really try to break it down and keep it simple for the guys so they know where they're looking. But, I mean, some of the tendencies are just, they're there and they're not going to change because that's really who you are and what you're good at. But we do a ton of self scouting. We do it at the end of the year. And then we do studies throughout especially February and March months before spring ball, to really look at other teams and what we can add to what we do, you know, from a football standpoint, to enhance or disguise, you know, or just add to, you know, what we already do, you know, from a true football standpoint. This is fun. I've never talked so much like football with a group. Usually it's like overall. So, yep.
Hey, so you talked a lot about culture, and I think expectations go into that a lot too. So what changes, this is kind of a two-part for you, and then how you communicate it out to your team. What changes coming in? Expectations are fairly low. I mean, you go to a bowl game this last year, I think most of the fan base is happy. You guys go 11-2. Now you're going into next year where everyone, you know, talking about playoffs, BCS, you know, kind of the, you know, championship, you know, expectations. So what changes for you, you know, from a year ago, and then what changes in terms of how you keep that culture and expectations with your players?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're all fighting the same fight because we're all alumni and Huskies here. So these guys didn't help. You know, the public will tell me, I've had some people that are close to the program and they joke about, they said, you really outdid yourself as a team last year, because, you know, if they said if you'd have won 8 games or 9 games, you know, but you know, then the next step, you know, winning 11-12 or 11 or 12 or whatever it might have been. But I put it this way. We come here to this program because of expectations. That's why I came here. That's why our players in all these programs, because our athletic department is so successful in all these other sports, and all these student athletes that are here doing the same thing. You come to UW because there are expectations. And, you know, I really don't want to think of it like, I don't feel it like as pressure, because when it's all said and done, the first meeting on August 1st, when we get together, I will remind the guys that all I'm going to ask from you is that you bring your best attitude and your best energy every single day. And the pieces that we're going to bring together and the things that we're going to do, if we bring our best attitude and energy, okay, energy and attitude. I emphasize the energy piece. When we bring our best energy and attitude, then the rest of it's going to fall together, and the rest that's all we can ask for. The results are going to be what they are, and that's what I'm asking myself. That's what I'm asking from our staff. That's what I'm asking from our team. And I think that ties into the culture piece too, right? And we just really focus. Again, everyone talks about the process, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to be family oriented. We're going to have great accountability, and we're going to be very tough. And FAT, family accountable tough, are going to be the 3 core values that we're always going to hang our hat on. How we do things, we're going to do things with class, integrity, and in the classroom, we're going to be academic excellent as well.
Thanks, Coach. One final question from online.
This is from Lana Chan. How do you motivate players differently, given that they're in different places, whether it's mentally or performance-wise? You know, she gives an example, high performance versus those who may be frustrated, and everyone who is often together and observing everything that's going on. So how do you motivate?
Yeah, I know in our program we use the word driven. You got to find driven people, but we all fall out of that at times, right? That just, man, where you're in it and you're loving it, and you just every day you can't wait to get there. Some days it isn't happening, and hopefully it doesn't extend longer. And that's where, as a team, that, you know, a team sport is so great, is because that's what your teammates are there for. That's what your coaches are there for, is to help you through those times. I think finding purpose is what it always comes down to, whether it's myself and me and why I would be driven, you know, to have a great season this year. What's that purpose? Kind of goes back to my philosophy that I shared earlier. But that purpose might even be that individual's role, you know, and that role being the biggest and most important role and what they can do for our team reaching success. And I know our guys really believe that, if our team is really good, those individual honors, accolades, the experiences, maybe they're not that all-American, but those experiences and them feeling like they had a purpose and they had a significant role. So for some guys, and there's 120 on our roster, well, only 11 guys are on the field at the same time. But there are other ways where it's special teams or whatever those might be, where you can go out there and you can make an impactful play in a game. And, we always challenge our guys to be ready, because you don't know when that one moment's going to be, where all of a sudden 72,000 Husky Stadium are going crazy because it was a special teams play that didn't seem like a big deal in practice during the week. And all of a sudden that's the momentum changer in a game. So purpose and finding the right people who are driven and working together as a team.
Thanks, Coach. Great lessons, family, accountability, and tough. I think we can take that for work here at Microsoft and at home. Just one more quick thank you to the Foster Alumni Association for sponsoring the event. For those that are staying for the career roundtables and student athletes, let's find some room up front. There's still food out back if you didn't get a chance to eat on the way out. And again, one big round of applause for Coach DeBoer and Coach Frank Hodge. Thank you.
Go Dogs.
Thank you, everyone.